Hey everyone, it's Rich Bennett. Can you believe it? The show is turning 10 this year. I am so grateful for each and every one of you who've tuned in, shared an episode, or even joined the conversation over the years. You're the reason that this podcast has grown into what it is today. Together, we've shared laughs, tears, and moments that truly matter. So I want to thank you for being part of this journey. Let's make the next 10 years even better.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Harford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch fast.
It's probably the least sexy part of the work, and I don't have this answer. It's okay. No. It's fine. The truth is...
So what do Cold War espionage, cyber terrorism crackdowns, and leading a national transit system security all have in common? Gina L. Osborn. That's what. She's not just a retired FBI assistant special agent in charge. She's a bona fide maverick. From tracking spies in Army intelligence to dismantling organized crime rings in Little Saigon, Gina's career reads like a thriller novel. But it's not just the high-stakes missions that set her apart. It's how she's turned those experiences into powerful lessons in leadership, resilience, and breaking barriers. Today, Gina travels the world as a motivational speaker, sharing stories that electrify audiences and empower underrepresented professionals to make bold moves of their own. She's the host of the Making Maverick Moves podcast, a TEDx speaker, and an advocate for fearless decision-making in high-pressure environments. We're diving into Gina's incredible journey from the battlefield of espionage to the boardroom and unpacking what it really takes to lead through chaos, rise in a man's world, and redefine the rules of success. So if you're ready to be inspired by grit, courage, and some serious maverick energy, grab your coffee, whatever it is you're drinking, sit down, grab your pen and paper, or hit record, take notes, because you're going to learn a lot from, can I say from the Maverick herself? Or is that trademarked?
It's in the process of being trademarked.
Well, because Maverick, I think of Top Gun.
Yes, but we're making Maverick Moves over here.
Oh, I love that. How you doing, Gina?
I'm doing great. What a beautiful, lovely intro. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. All right, so we spoke a little bit before, and I always love to ask this question. And no, I'm not going to ask why the Army, but what was it that made you decide you wanted to go into the Army? And was it right out of high school or what?
So it was in the middle of the Cold. Well, actually, it was at the end of the Cold War. It was in the 1980s. I'm going to age myself just a little bit here. And it was the decade of the spy. And so everything about the Cold War, the CIA, the former Soviet Union, I mean, it just absolutely fascinated me. Mm-hmm. And my dream was to become an international woman of intrigue. And I figure what better way, after reading so many different spy novels in my lifetime, than, going to work for the CIA. And so I was in my second year of my second year of college. I was a cocktail waitress at a comedy club. Don't do the math because there may have been shenanigans going on there. And I had run out of money. I was in my second year of college. And so as I'm studying for a test in the library at the junior college, a young man came up to me and started telling me about the Army's counterintelligence program. And for those of you who remember Private Benjamin, he was telling me about the condos. He was telling me about I could wear civilian clothes. I'd be driving around in luxury cars.
Oh, so he was a recruiter.
I don't know. It's funny. I don't know who he was, but the next day I went down to the recruiter.
He was selling it, though.
He sold it to me. And I signed up, and about 8 months later, I was eating dirt in basic training, Fort Jackson, South Carolina. You know what that's like.
Oh, Fort Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
In the winter. And this California girl, it was chilly.
Wow. Wait, so what were you going to college for?
I was going to college so I can, in order to become a CIA.
Okay, so you were going for that.
Yeah, you had to have a 4-year degree.
Okay, all right. So, I love to compare notes when it comes to basic training.
Okay.
Besides the cold weather, what was the hardest thing about basic?
Oh my gosh. Let's see.
And besides also being away from family.
Well,
'cause that's always hard on everybody.
Yeah. The funny thing is so this was 1987 when you had the male platoons and the female platoons. And so one day someone came up with a brilliant idea. Hey, let's see if the men and the women can train together. So
No.
No, I'm telling you. So you would think that they would take maybe half of the women's platoon and put them with half the men's platoon, but instead they picked 5 big women, and I was one of the big women that they picked, and they stuck us into an all-male platoon for a week.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and we knew we weren't going to do better than them. We knew we could not fall out, so we had to stay up. And I knew that I had made it when on the very last day. I'm filthy. I've got my camo on my face. I have my birth control glasses on because, of course, those birth control with a strap on the back that held them to my face. Okay.
I've never heard it called that.
What? Oh my God. See, the Marines, they don't know how to name things. So the female drill sergeant from the male platoon came up to me and said, "Private, are you a male or a female?" And that's when I knew that we had made it. So,
wow.
Coming as a Barbizon School of Modeling graduate circa 1979, I should have been offended, but I was not. We made it through the week.
That's a school I haven't heard the name of in a long time. So were you staying in the same barracks?
Oh, no.
As the men?
No.
Okay.
They would just line us up, every morning, and then we would go out all day long and hang out with the men's platoon. So, yeah, it was very interesting. And I don't think they really started to have men and women train until the 90s. So that was really, really early in the thought process. But, yeah.
Wow.
It was the other women and I mean, we had to keep up. It was fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So, while you were in basic, because you wanted to go into Army intelligence, right?
Yes.
Were you able to go right into, was that your MOS as soon as you graduated basic? Really?
Yep. And as I recall, but I'm not 100% sure, I think they were guaranteeing me an overseas assignment. But,
nice.
But I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But I was very, very fortunate because after I went to AIT, Advanced Individual Training at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, where it was hot, so for this California girl. And then I wound up I have to tell you a good story. So I got there. I wanted to be the first one there because in my mind, I wanted to pick my assignment, right? So I show up. I only took like 2 days of leave. I show up to the 527th MI Battalion headquarters, and there was another person from my class who had gotten there ahead of me. This was in Kaiserslautern, Germany.
Wow.
And so I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be at headquarters. I want to be in a detachment where I'm going to be wearing civilian clothes, right? And so the guy who got there ahead of me said, oh, no, they're going to keep the first 10 people here at headquarters where we're going to have to wear BDUs and live in the barracks. I'm like, oh, no. That doesn't work for me. So the next day I'm talking to this E7 staff or Sergeant First Class. And who I thought I was, I do not know because I learned better after that. But, I'm explaining to him that I cannot stay at headquarters. So he goes, well, I could send you to a detachment in Belgium, but you have to speak French. And so I said, oh, I speak French. I took some French in high school, but I may have explained that I spoke French a little bit better than I did. So I got there in Belgium. Already orders were cut, so there's the deal. My captain spoke French, so he was not exactly happy with me for not being able to be fluent in French that I may have. But anyway, I got to spend 2.5 years in Belgium and then 3.5 years in Germany.
I take it they made you take French lessons then?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Okay. All right. So if you don't mind me asking, because how long were you in the Army for?
6 years, just under 6 years.
How many different countries did you go to, if you're allowed to tell us?
Oh, gosh. So I was stationed in 2 countries, but when I was in Frankfurt, I was assigned in Frankfurt, Germany for my last 3.5 years. And I was very, very fortunate to be assigned to a specialty team that investigated the highest profile espionage cases in the European theater. So I was traveling probably 9 or 10 months out of the year in Mercedes, BMWs, and Audis. I'm not making that up because we were undercover. Wow. And yeah, I mean, it was like the best time ever. And, all of these people who were trying to sell out, whether they're, Army contractors or Army service people. We were on those cases. So it was really a fascinating time.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced?
I would say just being an American undercover in a foreign country. And so we were programmed for disguise kits. And so we had wigs, and I had a pregnancy pillow, and just being in those scenarios. So there was one time I was in an apartment with an individual, and I didn't learn until after that the team had lost me going in. Oh, yeah. No, it was not good. So that was a little scary. And I think I've been in a couple of massive car accidents, going from point A to B. But yeah, overall, fabulous experience.
When's the movie coming out?
Well, I'm working on a TV show right now, so we'll see if that goes anywhere.
Now, have you written a book as well, or is that in the works?
I'm working on one, but yeah, I'm working on one. We'll just say that. But I want to, take my memoir and then also talk about making Maverick Moves, because I want it to be an inspiration to people to go. And when I talk about Maverick Moves, it's where, you come up to that door and you're afraid to go through, or you're intimidated, or you're frustrated, yet you go through anyway. And so those are the people that I like to inspire so that they can have their breakthrough success.
Okay, which we are going to get into that too. But one of the things when you got out of the Army, and it was from there, was it you wanted to go right into the FBI?
So I wanted to work for the CIA.
CIA, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I interviewed for the CIA, both my husband and I at the time, and I.
You know what? You scared me there for a minute, because at first I thought you said both your husbands.
Oh, both my husbands.
I'm like, wait a minute. No. What country did you leave?
There's only been one for me. Thank you. We both went and interviewed at the same time. And surprisingly, neither one of us made it in. So that was
really,
because I had spent, 6 years trying to get my 4-year degree, sitting on surveillance with a little German blue suitcase, writing my term papers out, back then. And it didn't happen. And then I wound up getting into the FBI, and it wound up being the best thing that could ever happen.
What was it like transitioning from the military into the FBI?
It's interesting because going through the FBI Academy, it's definitely, you and I, you would see it definitely as a gentle person's course, because really the FBI agents are mostly accountants and attorneys, PhDs, and, a few grunts like me going through. But yeah, it wasn't anything like Army training at all. But, you had to be thinking a lot more. And so that was challenging because you were taking tests and shooting and doing all sorts of things.
A lot of mental training.
For sure.
And that was in Quantico, right?
Quantico, Virginia.
Okay. And then from there, you transitioned later into leadership. How was that?
I did. It was good. It was right after 9/11. So the first 5 years of my career, I was working Asian organized crime in Little Saigon. And for those who cannot see me, I am a 6-foot blonde. And so working in the Little Saigon district of Orange County, California, where it's the largest Vietnamese population outside of Vietnam. So that was interesting. All of the gangsters knew me for sure.
I was going to say, and being a 6 foot, a lot of them disguises wouldn't have worked. Probably.
Yeah, no, not at all. In Germany, I was great. Perfect. Little Saigon, not so much. And then 9/11 happened, and then pretty much the FBI completely shifted. Terrorism was the number one priority. So I became the counterterrorism program coordinator for the Los Angeles field office. And then they put me in charge of our extraterritorial squad, where any sort of terrorist attack against U.S. persons or U.S. interests in Asia, Australia, or India, my squad would respond to those incidents. So it was really an interesting time in history.
And you actually led the largest cybercrime and counterterrorism division in the country, right?
I did, and which is fascinating for someone who could barely turn on a computer. I don't know why I'm talking about my ex-husband so much, but he was a self-proclaimed cyber geek, and and so I knew the language a little bit. And in order for us to promote to the executive levels, we have to go to the mothership. FBI headquarters for 18 months. So I was on the inspection staff, and they were looking for someone to inspect a cyber program in Chicago, and none of the other team leaders raised their hand. And I'm like, why not? I think I speak the language a little bit. And so that's kind of how I became the subject matter expert for the cyber program for the FBI by inspecting all of these different cyber
Wow.
programs. Yeah.
And then after 9/11, I mean, the cybercrime and counterterrorism just like skyrocketed.
For sure. And when you look at all that, so I wound up, I was the longest sitting assistant special agent in charge in the FBI field office in Los Angeles. I was an ASAP for 11 years. And usually, I think the average time is about 14 months, but I just fell in love with these cyber geniuses. They were so creative and so innovative, and they were like chess players, so it was really fun to work with them. And we responded. One of the big cases that we responded to was the hack by North Korea against Sony Pictures Entertainment in 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So watching how a nation state can, deploy psychological warfare on a huge company on U.S. soil, it was just unprecedented. So that was really fun to be there for that one.
How did you actually keep your team focused and resilient, especially under, high stakes pressure like that? Because a lot of people, when you think of cybercrime compared to, being in the military, boots on the ground and all that, a lot of people don't think the counterterrorism and cybercrime is very high pressure, but it is. So how'd you keep your team focused and all?
When I got that position, I was a lead from the front leader, because that's what I learned from all my male mentors in the military and in the FBI leading up to that point. But when I got there, I realized that I was leading from the front all day long, but I didn't have the currency that I needed, which was that technology background to get these people to follow me. So that's when I realized it's like, I can't, that style is not going to work with these people. So it was really the first time that I led authentically, because I had to sit down with myself and say, okay, what do I have to contribute? All right, I'm a problem solver. I'm a good communicator. I know where all the money trees are in Washington, D.C. So if I, to buy equipment for my people that they really, really needed. And, I think by becoming a servant leader with that type of, I call them my racehorses. It was my job to keep them on the track. But because they were so innovative and creative, that's how they thrived, being able to lead themselves and have their own ideas, and me just supporting them along the way. So it really taught me about servant leadership. And that's what motivated them every day was, knowing they had ownership in everything that they were doing.
You probably created several good leaders as well, I have a feeling.
That was the best part, because as a brand new leader, you tend to micromanage, and you tend to not let anybody make mistakes because you don't want to look bad. Well, I had done that job for so long. That was one of the things that my young cyber supervisors, and I probably had at least 5 or 6 generations, because they would stay with me for a couple of years and then they would move on. Right. And by the end, number one, they knew that they were going to get thumped early on, because, we had to establish our relationship, and they had to know how important it was to lead people and the amount of responsibility that came with us. So that would happen. And then if they wanted to do something really bad, and I knew that that may not be the best of all things, I would give them some advice. But as long as it didn't cost our, taxpayers money or nobody got injured, I would let them go down that rabbit hole. And so, letting them make those mistakes, that's how they learned, and that's how they became some really, really good leaders. So I'm excited whenever I get a phone call and they tell me that they made it to their next promotion. That's like the best. That's my legacy in the FBI, were those young people that came up behind me.
Sounds like they would make some great guests for your podcast.
Oh, yes. We have to get them on, but they're a little busy right now.
So what's one of the toughest leadership decisions you've ever had to make? And actually, how did you approach it as well?
The interesting thing, so I left the FBI. I wound up as the chief safety and security officer for LA Metro, the second largest transportation company in the agency and in the nation. And I noticed that they had $200 million worth of contracts with contract law enforcement, LAPD, Long Beach PD, and the LA Sheriff's Department, and they were not performing and they were missing in action. And so really taking that on, and I knew from like probably week one that LA Metro needed their own police department, and that's something that I worked on for 2 years. But when I went to the Inspector General to give a report about what I was seeing, I was fired like a week later.
What?
So, yeah. So never been fired before in my entire life. So I think, I always talk about when I go out and I do my speaking, I talk about, you have to choose wisely that hill you're willing to die on. And sometimes that hill chooses you. And so that's where this whole Maverick movement came from, was that, that wasn't something that I volunteered to do. And following that, it got leaked to the LA Times. Next thing you know, I'm on television for the next probably 6 weeks talking about all of the shootings and stabbings that were happening at LA Metro. So although it was difficult and definitely ego bruising, it really taught me probably the most lesson. It was the biggest growing spurt that I've ever had in my entire life.
And that was the birth of the Maverick.
Exactly.
I love that. The Maverick. All right. So what does a Maverick, or what does being a Maverick mean to you, especially in traditionally male dominated fields like law enforcement and intelligence?
Yeah, it means that so I talk about, like, when you're in the FBI, when I was in the FBI, you would go out and do a search warrant. And so all of your training, all of your experience, all of the work you did, the homework that you did on this suspect, you're going to do a search warrant or an arrest warrant on a suspect. Everybody meets, you brief, you're ready to go, you're ready to roll. And then, there's about 5 or 6 of you lining up on the door, and you don't know what's behind that door. Is your subject asleep upstairs in bed, or is he or she laying in wait, with a gun pointed at the door? You don't know. So I talk about that door a lot. So being a Maverick is believing in yourself enough that you have the training, that you have what it takes, that you know that if something goes wrong, you're going to be able to, you have the skills to pivot, and you go through that door anyway. And so that's the only way that you're going to get to breakthrough success, unless you're a very, very, very lucky person. But that to me is what that means.
Wow. All right. So can you share a moment when going against the grain, in other words, making that Maverick move, truly paid off for you or your team?
Well, I would say, going to the Inspector General and then going on the news, I was doing probably at least 3 interviews a week for a good 6
That was it.
Because there was a huge crime surge that happened the minute I got fired. So did that have anything to do with me? No, but it really gave me the opportunity. My goal was to keep those frontline employees safe and those riders safe. And everybody deserves to have that experience, especially when you're a transit dependent person. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm getting all of this publicity. So why don't we talk about why it is that Metro needs their own police department, and why Metro needs to really focus on security? So after I got fired, I think I did more for the system security and law enforcement group at LA Metro than I did while I was there, because they got about $100 million approved by the board after I got fired in order to be able to get the technology and the fair enforcement, all things that I had been talking about the entire time I was there. And the board approved unanimously for Metro to get their own police department about 4 months after I got fired. So, going out and telling the stories, like the fact that, the LA Sheriff's Department were at a golf tournament when they were supposed to be at a station, or LAPD were on a platform, and there was a dead body on the platform for 5 hours, and nobody approached that individual who had been deceased for 5 hours. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Those were the types of things. And so that makes me feel good. And that, and I, don't really have contact with the team, but I knew that I would be able to, help make a difference. And so that made me feel good that was my purpose. That was the reason behind, everything that happened, I believed.
Oh my God. Yeah. I could definitely see your life story being a TV show.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny how things fall into place too. I think maybe all that stuff did happen because you got fired and people knew, oh, now's our chance because she isn't there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. And I always believe in, and this is because I've been involved in so much chaos, crisis, and change in my career, and after leading through that, I believe, and I learned from LA Metro because I had seen more violence during my 2 years at LA Metro than I had during my entire 28-year law enforcement career.
Wow.
And I learned there, that with every crisis comes an opportunity. And so right after I got fired, I'm like, what is the purpose behind this? And so I sat super, super quiet for 2 days. And then the next thing you know, I get a text where someone told me that Rachel Uranga from the LA Times was looking for me. And that changed everything because I was able to use my voice for the greater good.
Yeah. And what year was that?
Last year.
Oh, that was just last year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I think I remember seeing stuff like that on the holy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn. Wow. Okay.
I don't think have you ever been like at a loss for words before? My goodness, I need to keep talking.
Yeah. Well, I just sometimes, yeah. I mean, sometimes my guests just blow me away, and I'm just like, or sometimes they've even had me crying. Just hearing the stories. But because I keep thinking of the Cold War. When you went into the military, and 28 years. It just doesn't add. For those of you that are listening and can't see Gina, she looks like she's in her 30s, maybe early 40s.
I'm going to come back every week.
It just doesn't add up. But last year, oh my God,
No,
there's been all kinds of crap going on for the past 10 years or so. It seems like.
Yeah.
It's nuts
for that, but yeah, no, it adds up.
Wow. Okay. I want to focus on, especially with women. You rose through the ranks in a male-dominated space. So, what advice would you give to women who are trying to break barriers in their own industries?
I would say, be very, very mindful of the stories you tell yourself in your head. Because I was just speaking with a young lady, and she was telling me that they, and my ears always perk up when anybody ever starts talking about they, right? Because I'm dying to know who they are. And she was telling me about how, every time, I can't go into work and I can't, be myself and be assertive and do this and do that because they think that I'm too aggressive or they think this. But when you dissect who exactly is they, and is that actually happening, or is that the story that you've been telling yourself in your head? And one story I like to tell is, my mom is amazing. My parents got divorced when I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old, and she was alone with 2 kids, no alimony, and she wound up going into real estate. And I watched her in the first year selling houses for $35,000 a piece. She made the $1 Million Club in her first year.
Wow.
So in that scenario, we never heard about a glass ceiling. We never heard about not being able to do things because we were women. I was watching her and she could do anything. So when I got to basic training and I got pulled out of bed one night in the middle of the night to go paint the first sergeant's office, I don't know if they made you do that type of stuff in the Marines, but but there was another private there, and she was talking about this glass ceiling, and it's like it did not compute with me because that was not that didn't apply to me. In my head,
Right.
that did not apply to me. So I think it's really important if there is this, common known scenario where women can't do this or I can't do that, I would just say it doesn't apply to me and move on.
Yeah.
Because all of the energy that you're going to take to fight that or be disappointed in that or try and change that, that's just energy that you're taking away from having your breakthrough success.
You're listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. We'll be right back. When it comes to car care, I'm pretty picky about who I trust. That's why I only use American Auto Repair and Joppa. And guess what? They're celebrating 20 years in business. That's 2 decades of incredible service and expert car care. Whether it's a simple oil change or a complex repair, they handle everything with professionalism and precision. So if your vehicle needs a checkup, head on over to American Auto Repair. Join me in supporting a trusted local business that's been keeping our rides safe and sound for 20 years. Check them out at AmericanAutoRepairInc.com or call 410-679-6500. Again, that's 410-679-6500 and see why I trust them with all my automotive needs. And right now, you're no longer with LA Metro, right? Now you're actually, speaking and helping other people.
Yes. And I have my podcast and going out and trying to sell a TV show and a book and all sorts of those types of things. So that's
so are you coaching as well?
So I do from time to time. I really love to mentor people. And I think everybody needs a good mentor. And for people who are of our vintage, young man, I'm going to say, I think it's important for them to know that you need to go to these people who you would think, oh, they'll never mentor me. I mean, people come to me all the time on LinkedIn and said, hey, would you mind? And it's like, absolutely, because number one,
feels good.
I know. We love to hear our self-talk. We love to tell stories, and we love to help people get to where they want to be. So,
And to see them succeed is the biggest reward.
Mm-hmm. It really is. It really is.
You did a TEDx talk.
Yes.
So, you're laughing about it.
I know.
What was that experience like?
For someone who always avoided public speaking, I didn't start public speaking until after I left the FBI because I had one experience in the Army where I flopped so bad. It kept me from doing any sort of public speaking until after I left the FBI. So it was definitely an experience. It was a wonderful experience because I went to Manteca, California. It was the first time that they had ever done a TEDx conference. And the people there were so absolutely lovely. And I met a young lady there who came up to me. And the only reason why she came there was to see me speak. And, we had a little conversation about what was holding her back. And she kind of epitomizes my listener, somebody who has this dream, who wants to make that maverick move. And yet, whether it's confidence or whatever it is, that's what's holding them back. And so whenever my sister, who is a podcast producer, always tells me that you have to know exactly who your listener is. And, so meeting her there, she really, like I said, she is my listener. And that's what really motivates me to get out there and, and help people like her and people like her. But it was a great experience. I enjoyed it. However, it was a lot of work. And I didn't get nervous though. However, it probably could have gone better, but we're going to say it was a good experience.
Well, from what I've been told, and of course there's a difference between the TEDx talks and the TED Talks. The TED Talks is the next one for you. But because I've been wanting to do it, but my understanding is it's a lot different than public speaking because when you're taught public speaking, you're moving. I think of like Grant Cardone or Gary Vee. They're always moving across that stage, talking to everybody.
Yeah.
But with TEDx, you literally have to stay on the X, right?
And you have to stay in the circle, and it's memorized. And
oh,
yeah, so that's what kind of threw me for a loop, because I have this type A personality where I need to know it and know it.
right.
And my sister, I went to a rehearsal about 2 weeks before, and I did not have it memorized. I mean, but I had worked on memorizing it, and I'm not a big
Right.
practice person. So this really was not the best thing for me in my mind to go and do, because all of the things that I don't like, you have to do in order to be really, really successful in this space. But then I learned that if you have a PowerPoint, then you can have your notes on the screen. But I didn't do that because this lady who was coaching me said, yeah, you don't want to do that because you're really going to lose that connection with the audience. But I can tell you what really was a game changer for me as a public speaker was when I got up there. I wasn't nervous at all, which was a good thing. I just had to, remember what I was supposed to say. But when I looked out, the lights were so bright, I
can't see anybody.
But I felt them. So if you really want to improve as a speaker and really improve on understanding what your brand is and understanding what your message is, that is like the best thing that you can possibly do.
And don't picture the audience in their underwear. That does not work.
There was no audience. It was just, but I did get some laughs where I was supposed to, so that helped me. And I had like a walking pneumonia at the time, so I'm going to give you all the excuses as to why it wasn't exactly the best, but I did it. And every time I look on my LinkedIn and it says TEDx speaker, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I did it.
Wait a minute, there was no audience?
No. The audience was there. You just couldn't see them.
Oh, you couldn't see them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, wait a minute now. All right, so because I've been thinking about doing one.
You should.
I'm debating. Are you allowed to ad-lib it all? Or would they even know?
Yeah, you probably can, but yes. And you know what? You and I are going to talk offline, and I am going to work with you on that.
Okay.
Because there's a lot to it. You can, and you would probably, I think if I ever do another one, I'm going to definitely not go through the memorization route, because it was a good 15 minutes worth of memorized content. And that's a lot.
At my age, I can't even remember birthdays.
That's it. That's I'm going to use.
It's like, you want me to memorize 15 minutes of a speech?
Yeah.
No way.
That was a lot. Yeah.
Ad-libbing I can do.
Yeah.
But you would still need that outline, those notes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can, and then you can do the PowerPoint, and then you have the confidence monitor there.
Yeah.
But you definitely don't want to get hooked on that confidence monitor, because again, you'll lose that whole interaction.
But I think even with the PowerPoint, and I learned this from, being in radio, well, not really being in radio because I was a music DJ, but by doing this, the podcast, you have to paint that picture for everybody. Mm-hmm. So because I remember when I was in the IT field, we would do PowerPoints a lot, and it was basically everything was on the PowerPoint, so you were just reading the PowerPoint that the people could already read.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. All right, I'm going to do it.
Yes.
I'm going to do it.
Yes.
I'm going to do it. It's another challenge for me. So I love challenges.
And you tell me where it is. You come do it in California. Do it in Orange County, California, and I'll be in the front row.
Look, I haven't been out in California since I was in the Marine Corps.
Oh, Mike, see, it's time to come home.
That was the last time I was out there. Look, I just flew for the first time a couple of years ago. Okay.
Are you serious?
The last time I flew was 1995. I had a bad experience. And
my gosh.
My wife's cousin was getting married, and they live in New Orleans. So and I look at her as a niece. So it's like, I got to go down there for this.
Yeah.
So I flew down. The flight down was not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I faced two of my fears.
Okay.
Fly in, and we flew down on Super Bowl Sunday, which was, so we were there for Fat Tuesday as well. So it was during Mardi Gras. And my second fear is bridges, because I had, all this was after the Corps. I had a nightmare. My father and I rode off the side of a bridge.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we get down to New Orleans on Super Bowl Sunday, and, They told me, yeah, well, we're going to her one cousin's house to watch the Super Bowl, which was, if you know anything about New Orleans, it's on the other side of that lake, and you have to drive across the 24-mile long bridge. I didn't drive, but still, it's like, I don't want to do it, but I had to do it. And then coming back, of course, there were storms and everything. I think we even had tornado warnings.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I faced that, but yeah, flying I have no problem with anymore now.
All right.
So if I have to come to California, God, Whew. Orange County.
Yeah.
That's LA and all, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think UC Irvine has two a year. So
okay.
Yeah, so you have to apply. That's the thing. There's a whole application process.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and then you have to be invited to speak. And usually you get, I think, like maybe 4 to 6 months to prepare. I got about 6 weeks. I don't know what happened, but it was very fast. And so, yeah.
Wow.
So I got about 6 weeks. So that's
because I've been kicking the idea around of actually doing one, but hosting it here where I'm at.
Oh, that's a good
because
idea.
I've met a lot of great people on the podcast that are from here that would make awesome speakers.
That's a great idea.
So I might have to do Orange County in here.
Yeah, there you go. And maybe if I decide I'm ever going to do another one, I'll come and see you.
Well, if you do that, then I have to, turn you on to some really good seafood and show you what steamed crabs are really like.
I'm up for it.
Because you're not getting better steamed crabs than in Maryland.
I'll take it.
I'm just saying. Just saying. Just like in Maine, Maine's the best place for lobster. Maryland's the best place, I want to say, for steamed crabs and probably oysters.
All right. I
mean, it's just the way it is. All right, I want to talk about your podcast.
Okay.
Making Maverick Moves.
Yes.
What actually inspired you to launch it?
Well, again, this whole Maverick mindset, this whole mission that I went on. And I thought about, so at the time, I wanted my first guest to be the LA City Fire Chief. And I wound up, my friend is the head of security for the 2028 Olympics here in Los Angeles. And so she was in Paris and I said, do you know the LA City Fire Chief? Because I want her to be on my show. And so she set it up and I wound up speaking to the LA City Fire Chief 2 months before the fires. So I spoke with her in November.
Wow.
And when I asked her, okay, Chief Crowley, tell us about a Maverick move that you've made. And she said, oh, well, I'm making one right now because I don't have the resources to do my job. So fast forward 2 months to January, horrible fires, Pacific Palisades, Eaton fires.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, they're questioning. And she had gone to the mayor and the city council in December, so a month before the fires, telling her that this budget cut that they just did in the summer was not working for her, that she had all of this equipment that needed to be fixed, et cetera. And then, so that was in January. The 2 days before I promoted or premiered the podcast, she was fired 2 days before. So that is the type of Maverick moves, because really when I saw her on the news talking about how she didn't have the resources to do her job, she had already told me that 2 months before. And, that was the hill that she was willing to die on, because her people, there weren't enough people. They had 4 fire stations than they did 20 years ago. And, that is really what a Maverick is all about. They're willing to sacrifice themselves for the bigger picture. And that's exactly what she did. So that kind of started the whole thing. And we've been, I think we've done, compared to you, we started doing videos. So we're up to 20 episodes or 21 episodes. And so, so we're going strong, and we're super excited about this movement. And so that's what we do.
39 episodes.
I do. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not looking at the video. I'm looking at Good Pods.
Okay. Yeah. So I did. So it used to be called Lead Like a Lady, and nobody really understood what that was all about. Because I was thinking Margaret Thatcher, she was a badass. She was the Iron Lady. So when I named that podcast a few years ago, but people didn't get it. And so we rebranded in February. So yes. So in total, 39.
All right. So I want to ask you about that because a lot of people in podcasting are afraid to rebrand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I rebranded mine. Best move I ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Were you nervous about rebranding?
I was. In fact, I have a public speaking bureau, and they told me that this is not a good name for a podcast. And
what?
Oh, yeah. They were. No, not Making Maverick Moves. Lead like.
Okay.
So, and it meant so much to me, and I was like, nope. But then I started working with this fabulous marketing lady. Her name is Kelly Campbell of Sunny Sign Up Marketing. And, as I was going through all of this thing of being fired and all of this, she said, okay, well, we can call it Lead Like a Lady, but why don't we call it Lead Like a Lady, Leading Ladies Making Maverick Moves? And then I'm like, well, why don't we just call it Making Maverick Moves? And then
that's a long title.
Right. And so but the interesting part about it is I don't think I really lost an audience, but what's interesting, when that podcast was called Lead Like a Lady, more men listened to that podcast than women.
Yeah.
So now that it's called Making Maverick Moves, I have like 52% are women and 48% are men. So yeah,
pretty split.
Women want to make those Maverick moves for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome. Where do you find most of your guests?
They're all in Orange County because we go to an in-person studio and in fact, I had this fabulous guest that's coming out next week, Winnie Da Silva. She is a leadership expert out of New York. She actually came out to Orange County to film a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I would say all except for one so far has been shot in Orange County. But yeah, that's okay. It's a community podcast, but we've got so many amazing Mavericks here in Orange County.
That's awesome. I was the same way. That's how I started. Mm-hmm. It was strictly local, talking to local businesses and everything.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine who's in television suggested, she goes, Rich, you need to. Well, first, because I finally got her on, and she comes in, she goes, do you have an agent? I'm like, what? I thought she meant for my DJ and not for the podcast. She goes, yeah, you need to change the name and go globally. I'm like, okay. Because at the time, it was the same name as my Good News website. So it was Harford County Living. Oh. Well, technically, it was Harford County Living with Rich Bennett was the podcast, which in a way, the name sounds like it should be a real estate show.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was when I saw that in the URL. I thought it was like a country.
Yeah, that's the only thing. That's the only thing I haven't changed is the hosting URL because I don't know how I can go about doing that and not because people still go back to that first episode 10 years ago and listen to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. But I don't even know. I mean, people do. But when I rebranded and I told her, I said, well, I got to check with my sponsors first. If they're okay with it, I'll do it. And then I figured I'd ask my listeners for name suggestions, which was a big mistake. Mm-hmm. But, some of the names, I'll tell you when we're done. It was kind of scary. But she's the one that suggested Conversations with Rich Bennett, which most of the listeners like. So I did that, and like I said, it blew up. Over 110 different countries.
That's amazing.
Like I told you earlier, I was recording earlier with a lady in the Netherlands. Years ago, you wouldn't even talk to somebody in another country on the phone because it would cost you an arm and a leg.
Exactly.
And now you can do this. So where would you like to see your podcast? Let's say in the next, because it is a podcast, let's say the next year.
For the next year. Okay. So I would like to continue getting better and better. Again, we've only been doing the video since February. And so we're really kind of getting it to the point where I really, really want it and the format and the message out. So really, really getting it to the point where it is solid, super inspirational. This is good news. I just signed with a talent agency, the Gersh Talent Agency a couple of weeks ago. So I'm excited. So I would really love to see the podcast turn into a television show that we can take out there with the Maverick Moves trademark.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. and go out and speak to people who have really, and get into it and talk to other people about what they did and how their decisions impacted them. So I would love to do that. working on a scripted television show. So that's something exciting. And really just creating events, leadership events, because I think you get a lot. I mean, being a woman, there are a lot of women's conferences and things like that. But they really don't go after the hardcore leadership. It's more like, okay, work-life balance or whatever. And, it's the same thing that we hear at every conference for the last 20 years. But I would really, I love talking to women and really hitting that leadership. So doing events, taking the podcast on the road and doing some events as well.
I have several women that would make awesome guests for you.
Love it. I will take them.
And they're everywhere. Matter of fact, the one I had on recently, and I told her, and she's from here, and I told her, I said, when you buying the RV? She said, an RV for what? I said, well, tell your husband, I think you're going to be touring the country speaking and everything. I said, because you're that damn good. And she is.
I love it. Okay,
She is that good.
Yes.
Yes, Megan, I'm talking about you.
Megan, come out to the OC. We'll find some really good crabs that are going to rival the crabs in Maryland.
Oh, I doubt that. All right. Now, okay. Now the battle's on. Okay. Uh-huh.
We haven't even gotten into the Marines Army thing. So, yeah, we have.
Oh, no, I figured I'd play it safe. Look, see, now if it was another guy, I had no problem going back and forth, battling that. But see, it's just like with you doing video, which is awesome. So you have a face for video.
Aw.
I only have a face for audio.
That's not true.
I have a
No.
I have it. I've broken 2 cameras.
No. Rich, who says? Do they say you only have a face for video?
Does who?
Do they say? We got my fingers going up in the quotes.
Oh, yeah. They are the ones that told me.
No. This is a story you're telling. I would like to go on. What do you do? What's that website?
All right.
And do a vote and see whether or not Rich Bennett should be on video.
The only reason I say that is because when I started the podcast originally, it was supposed to be a YouTube show.
Yeah.
And a local radio station was going to air the audio part on Saturday mornings. So the one guy was videotaping it. Well, halfway through the first recording, which was in October, I had three or four breast cancer survivors on. Mm. Halfway through the recording, the guy's like, "Hey, Rich, we got a problem." I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "The camera's not working." I said, "Did you test it?" He said, "It's brand new, out of the box. I tested it. It was working fine." That told me right then and there. And then I just recently, I was on a friend of mine. I was on his podcast and he records video. And I told him that story. And he contacted me. He said, "Rich," he said, "you ain't going to believe this." I said, "What's the matter, Tim?" He said, "Well, we're able to do the audio." He said, "But the video is corrupt."
Okay, so those are days. Those are only 2 days, and it could have been
after 10 years, only 2 times. So, I did buy a video camera, and the new studio will have video. So, we'll see where it goes.
There you go.
All right, so a couple other questions for you.
Okay.
Looking back.
Yes.
What do you consider your proudest accomplishment? Not just professionally, but personally.
Oh. Can it be professionally and personally?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's your show, not mine.
Yeah,
it's just my name on it.
So professionally, I would say the legacy that I leave is to mentor young people and get them to, that leadership spot. So I would say that's probably the thing that I am impressed with myself the most, is the amount of time that I spent. And I'm impressed with them because they actually listened. And that's what I love. And as far as personally goes, just the fact that my mother, who is 86 years old, the doctor told her last year that she had to use a cane because she had osteoporosis, blah, blah, blah. And I told her, okay, she goes, am I allowed to swear on this? Okay, I don't want to.
Of course. Yeah, you're fine.
I'll just say, she said, "I'm not going to use an effing cane." Okay. And I said, "Okay, well then you're going to have to go to Silver Sneakers." And she's like, "I'm not going to Silver Sneakers." And I said, "Okay, then you're going to have to go to a personal trainer and start working out." So she's been working out for the last year and about 4 months. She's 86 years old. The osteoporosis between the Prolia shots and the weightlifting gone. She might have a little bit in her hip and that's it. She has got more energy than I have ever seen her in the last probably 20 years. And so, I am very proud of the fact that I come from strong genes. And so when we think about longevity, we really need to think about, how do we want to be when we're 80 years old? And do we want to be moving around or do we want to be on the cane? So we need to start right now to be, think about the longevity aspect of our lives so that we can live quality lives when we, get up to the 90s and the hundreds. Because I think in this generation, we'll probably see that more and more.
I'm going to give you some motivation for her. I had a young lady on 102 years, was it 101 or 102 years old?
Wow.
Still has a personal trainer.
Wow. See, that is what's so important.
You would not have thought that she was over 100 years old talking to her. And we did a video via video too. Would not have thought it.
Yeah.
Would not have thought that.
Yep. And that it is inspiring. And she goes to the gym and she'll, she walks in eating carrot cake, right? When she goes to the gym. Right. And I found out about that from, and then there's a 60-year-old gentleman that she finds very, very attractive. So she
God,
out with me and now she's going at a different time, right? Because he worked out. Oh, well.
Oh,
my mother.
Man. Hey, age is nothing but a number.
That's a fact.
That's all it is. Frank Sinatra always said it best, young at heart.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So before I get to my last question, which I have no idea what it's going to be.
Okay.
Is there anything you would like to add? Like website and everything?
Okay.
And anything else? Yes.
Please find us, Making Maverick Moves. We're on your favorite podcast provider, and we're also on YouTube and TikTok. And my website is GinaLOsborn.com. And please link up with me on LinkedIn. I love to put out leadership articles, and we'll put our shorts out there. And so I'm always trying to help people get to where they want to be. So join us.
All right. So my last question, I've been doing something different. And the weird thing is most of my guests, the number they pick, somehow or another, the question aligns with what we've been talking about.
Okay.
So I have 100 different questions here. I'm not going to ask you all of them. I'm going to ask you one.
Okay.
So pick a number between 1 and 100 and tell me why you picked that number while I look for the question.
Lucky number 7.
Lucky number 7. Oh,
yep.
Yeah, you had to give me a hard one to find, didn't you? Jeez.
What? It's only
number 7.
Only 7 down from the top.
It is. Lately, I've been starting from the bottom and scrolling up. Okay. This is actually a good question.
Okay.
What's a small act of kindness you witnessed or experienced that profoundly impacted you?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, man. Small act of kindness. I think I look back on my career, and there is a Westminster detective by the name of Tommy Ratcliffe. And when I was fresh out of the academy, I got a case where Thai girls were being brought into the United States and forced into prostitution. And if you listen to my TED Talk, you're going to hear all about Tommy Ratcliffe. I had no idea that the chief of police for the Westminster Police Department hated the FBI and said no FBI is allowed in my city, let alone his department. So in this case file, where these Thai girls were brought in the United States and forced into prostitution, I found an article where Tommy Ratcliffe had rescued 2 Thai girls in Little Saigon in the city of Westminster. So apparently they didn't have phones back then. So I just got in my car and I drove to the Westminster Police Department knowing none of this, showed my badge and credentials saying, I'm here to talk to Tommy Ratcliffe. And it's like, everyone's a little nervous. He gives me some information, shoos me out the door. And I'm like, man, this guy is the greatest. I go over there the second time. I wound up in the chief's office because, the chief did not want FBI agents anywhere.
Right.
But I had learned that he had vouched for me. And as a result of him vouching for me, the chief allowed me to work this one case with him, which turned into 5 years in the basement of the Westminster Police Department. We created a task force together. And he's been like my best friend for, the last 20 God, I don't even want to know, many years. So
Wow.
that random, and he was an old guy back then, probably
Right.
than me, but I was, brand new and green, and he thought he knew everything, and I thought I knew everything, and it was a perfect match, right? But yeah, the fact that he just did that one thing really changed my entire career because it allowed me to do something so significant for that 5-year period. So yeah.
Wow. I love that. Well, Gina, I want to thank you so much. It's been a true honor, and thank you for your service, not just in the Army, but law enforcement as well, because I think that is something that people in law enforcement don't hear enough.
Yeah.
We hear is being military, we hear it all the time, but these people here, the first responders and everything, need to hear it all the time because they're going through the stuff every freaking day.
Yep.
And
if you see them out on the street, please thank them for their service.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I always. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I love doing that. If I see them, I just walk up and shake their hand and thank them. Some of them look kind of shocked. You could tell the ones that were also in the military, because, and the other thing I do, and it's just to me, when we were in the military, you only saluted officers.
Mm-hmm.
To me, if you served, I'm always giving you a salute. To me, that's just a sign of respect.
Yep.
That's why I do it. So
love it. Thank you for your service too, Rich, and thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, I have a funny feeling you're going to be on some more.
Hey, I'm there.
Sounds good to me. Take care, Gina. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something from it as I did. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners and share more incredible stories. Don't forget to connect with us on social media or visit our website at conversationswithrichbennett.com for updates, giveaways, and more. Until next time, take care, be kind, and keep the conversations going. It takes a lot to put a podcast together, and my sponsors help out a lot, but I also have some supporters that actually help me when it comes to the editing software, the hosting, and so forth. There's a lot that goes into putting this together. So I want to thank them. And if you can, please visit their websites, visit their businesses, support them however you can. So please visit the following. Sincerely Sawyer Photography. Live in the moment. They'll capture it. Visit them at sincerelysawyer.com. Full Circle Boards. Nobody does charcuterie like Full Circle Boards. Visit them at fullcircleboards.com.
The Harford County Health Department can help eligible pregnant women and children with low to average incomes get free health insurance through the Maryland Children's Health Program. Call 410-877-1040. That's 410-877-1040.